Alright folks, here's another update on the Exceed crawler. I mentioned in an earlier video to use a piece called a ferrule that looks something like this. Okay, the pieces I made that look like that, well, they bombed. It didn't hold up very good. I think the metal is too soft. So what I ended up doing is just buying 3/8 aluminum rod, and I do believe this is a 6000 series aluminum, which is a little bit stronger. My first attempt, I was just trying to drill 2 holes down, and then the problem was when I was doing the second one, the drill bit started dancing over and it was just a nightmare. It wasn't working. So what I basically ended up doing then is just drilling a hole straight through the center and pretty much the whole length of the drill bit, so that what you can do is just cut off pieces as you need them. And then what I did is I just took a Dremel and I just ob-round it, because if you see right here, you can see this shape. It is an ob-round type of shape, so you got to turn that round hole into that. Now the hole diameter you have to drill the first hole will be 160 thousandths, and make sure you go straight down the middle. And then once you do that, you just take a Dremel with a really small tip on it and just start working your way until it's ob-round, and keep it as center as possible. If you do that, you will not have any rubbing issues on your gears with this. So now, if you look here, and here when we come up here, okay, you can see how I have 2 servos set up on just one axle now. Now the way I accomplished that is I took 2 rears of the stock pieces and bolted it on there, and as you can see, that was the original axle tube that was there originally. You have to use the 2 long ones in order so that you come out the servo on there. Now the part I'm going to show you that I made, the reason I made this is because the short axle one has a really long nub right here. This nub, it really stands out pretty far. So basically all we're doing is we're just making an extension, and this is the extension you're making on the inside. So now that will just slip on here. And now remember, you want to try to keep these things as tight as possible, the holes, so you have a nice tight fit. And then basically then this gear will just go on top of right here, and it sits on there. So basically all you did is just made an extension axle. And while everything's kind of needs to be held in place, but basically it works, and so far this axle is coming up pretty strong with that same setup. And as you can see, I upgraded to the alloy gears and the alloy housing now, and I powder coated those myself, and it was it's called Granny Smith green, and if you're into powder coating, that's the color I did, and that was a color I could find closest to the original green that comes on these parts. And again, this color is probably 99% over-the-counter parts that are for the Exceed Max Stone, and as well as some of the parts I use are for the Exceed Mad Torque. And in the earlier video I showed that I made this extension rod here. That's a must. There's no over-counter part long enough that's going to work that. And when I made this part, I did the exact same thing, as I just drilled a hole right in the center and then tapped it to the 3mm, that the little thread rods they have in there. So now basically this is just ready to go back together. And don't forget folks, just put a light coat of grease on there. You don't have to put a lot, just put a little bit on there. It'll help keep things from, wearing down fast, but if you put too much, it'll create a drag on your transmission, which in turn will make your motor overheat eventually, and your speed controller. So that's about it for now. I've also upgraded to these Novak Rockstar 45 turn motors as well. I bought it as a kid. It came with 2 motors and a speed controller. The speed controller is also going to allow me to have dig feature. So now this vehicle will have 4-mode steering, 4 servos, 4-wheel drive, digging feature, and also I've updated the position and the angles on my shocks. Originally in the first video, the standoff for here was flat against the chassis. Now these little spacers, those are actually for the Exceed Mad Torque car. But I think it works out nice, so I just kind of spaced it from here, and then down here I spaced it back, so now my shocks are almost pretty close to straight up and down even again. That seems to work out good. The articulation is no less than I had before I built a custom chassis on there. It will still bring the tire flat to the ground while the other one is straight flat up like this. I will show that parts once I'm completely back together and running. I am waiting for the shock and link mounts. Are also available in aluminum, but they're on back order right now. I intend to replace those. And let's see what else. I think that's pretty much about it. In the near future, I am going to be replacing this chassis. I will be keeping the same length, but just a different design, something a little nicer, maybe something that's a little lighter. But I will be using 125 thousandths aluminum. Currently this is only 90 thousandths. That's why I didn't get too crazy with taking too much material out. Let's see, any other updates? No, I think that's it for now, so we'll cut it short here, and I will bring you any further updates there is. Thank you.